And now let's discuss that and more with Interior Undersecretary Donnie Puno, who joins us now live here in the studio this Tuesday morning. Good morning to you, Yusek, and thank you for joining us here on Morning Matters.
Good morning, Pauline. Thank you for having me.
It's a Holy Week, but here you are, still working.
Yes.
No rest for...
Government employees don't get breaks.
And this is your first live interview,
yes,
I heard.
Yes, it is.
And we have so many topics to discuss today, Yusek. Let's start off with that Russian vlogger who made quite the headlines for his content.
Yeah.
I mean, you even have the president commenting, expressing his dismay that should not be tolerated. Give us an update, Yusek. What's the latest on the investigation, the charges on this Russian vlogger?
So briefly, what happened last week, DILG Secretary John Remulla called for a press conference to present the Russian vlogger, Vitaly Zdorovetskiy, to the media. And this was based on a blotter that was filed in Taguig, where Vitaly, based on the report, committed disruptive and inappropriate acts, to quote the report.
Who filed the blotter?
Some victims in Taguig. So I'm sure you've seen.
Themselves.
Yes, I'm sure you've seen the videos. He was caught harassing a Filipina. He tried grabbing the cap of a security guard, as you can see there. And then there were other acts that he committed in Boracay. This guy has been around. He's been doing this since 2012 all over the world. He's been in the States, he's been to Brazil, Egypt, the UK, doing this sort of thing. Now, Secretary John Vic has said he violated our laws and he disrespected Filipinos. Filipinos we are friendly people, we are hospitable people. But this guy took advantage of us. And ang malas niya, if other countries merely deported him, ang malas niya ngayon, his tough luck is that we have Secretary Remulla saying now that we're not going to let him off easy. So he will not be deported. He will stand trial here. He will face the charges here. And hopefully he will be jailed here.
So where is Vitaly right now, Yusek?
Vitaly is currently detained at the Bureau of Immigration's detention center in Camp Bagong Diwa.
Okay.
And he will await trial there.
And what charges specifically will be filed against?
There are several charges that he's already facing. There are several counts of unjust vexation. There's theft, attempted robbery, even I think is one of the cases that he's facing. In the inquest that was conducted, he admitted to it. In the presence of his counsel, he admitted to doing those acts. So, like I said, Secretary John Vic wants him to stand trial here, and he'll face the consequences here.
But can he argue that it was all for content? I mean, for social media,
He can argue it all he wants, right? But the bottom line is he violated laws. He committed acts against Filipino citizens, which is against our laws. So he can argue it all he wants. He can take it to court.
So, Yusek, I mean, what message is the DILG trying to send here to foreigners who come to the Philippines to make content and, I guess, also disrupt the lives of Filipinos while they're here?
Creating content such as Vitaly's, he can go about doing that all he wants. But, it was in an editorial in Manila Times the other day, and they were saying, while arguments rage about regulating content and such, let's not forget that there are already existing laws that people need to follow. And he tried creating his content at the expense of the Filipinos, making them look like fools. That's what Secretary John Vic didn't like. So we'll await the trial and we'll see what happens.
You know what I found quite interesting also, Yusek, during this particular press conference that we were showing earlier, the demeanor also of Vitaly, right?
Yeah, he was rude. The whole time the secretary was talking to the media, he was in the back, he was saying things, he was mumbling aloud.
Yeah.
He was disruptive. His behavior is totally disruptive.
So he wasn't apologetic?
He was not apologetic at all.
Okay.
Good thing for him that the secretary was able to control his temper. Hindi siya pinatulan ni secretary. But really, he was even at the press conference, he was very in the presence of PNP personnel, in the presence of our secretary. He acted that way.
So I guess the question right now, Yusek, is the DILG doing anything, or does the DILG plan to do anything to curb the misuse of these kinds of behavior on social media and potentially harm Filipinos?
You know, we've had several discussions over the past couple of weeks with PCO Secretary J. Ruiz and the DICT Secretary Henry Aguda. And this has to be an effort between the three departments. And I think we're headed in that direction. This is all in line with the President's order to go after fake news. You know, fake news, disinformation, misinformation, all of this content on social media that's wreaking havoc already online. There has to be a way to regulate this. PCO Secretary J. Ruiz said that he has met with representatives of the content of the platforms, of the various platforms, to get them to cooperate in terms of just monitoring what kind of content is out there.
But just to follow up also, Yusek, just to make sure that this is being done lawfully and with due process. He's Russian. What if the Russian government asks to, let Vitaly face the charges instead in their jurisdiction?
He broke our laws.
Okay.
He broke our laws. He broke Philippine laws here in our country. So he has to stand trial here.
All right. Well, I did say we will be discussing a lot of topics today,
Yes.
so let's shelve that already.
Sure.
One of the exciting projects that the DILG has is this harmonized infrastructure audit tool. So this
Right.
will assess the integrity
Right.
of buildings,
Right.
and we're talking about this because ever since that earthquake, that deadly earthquake that hit Myanmar and Thailand recently, killed thousands of people, unfortunately, talks about the potential big one resurfaced here in the Philippines. I
Right.
mean, we've been talking about it for years, Yusek, right?
Yeah.
But give us the situation. There was a study back in 2004 that said millions of Filipinos could die if a 7 magnitude earthquake hits.
Right.
Is there an updated study about for that?
I'm not aware of any updated study further than the 2004 study. But here's the point. The harmonized infrastructure audit tool will assess structural integrity of buildings and structures in preparation for the possibility of a large magnitude earthquake here in Metro Manila and the neighboring cities. As you mentioned, recent history has shown, right? Recent earthquake in Myanmar, 7.7 magnitude that resulted in the deaths of 3,400 of their people. 2 years ago, Turkey, 7.8 magnitude, resulted in over 55,000 deaths. That's the kind of thing we want to prepare for. We want to make sure that if ever it happens and when it happens, we try to minimize the damage to our people. So hence this tool, which is essentially a computer program. No, and this tool will go through an assessment. Initially, what they're going to do is they're going to take a look at 5 things. Proximity of the buildings. They'll take a look at the proximity of the buildings to the fault lines, particularly the West Valley Fault. Second, they will take a look at what type of building. Is it a government facility? Is it a hospital? Are they schools? Because we need to prioritize this, because in case we need to provide disaster relief, we need to make sure that these structures are available for use. And then we're going to take a look at the age of the building, of course, the history, in past earthquakes, have there been cracks? And then, of course, buildings and structures that are densely populated, transportation hubs, residential buildings, commercial complexes. Those will be the priority.
Who's behind this technology, Yusek?
Oh, this was the reason why they call it harmonized is because it's a joint effort between the DILG, DOST, FIVOLCS, Bureau of Fire. A lot of agencies were involved here.
So you mentioned 3 things that will be checked: proximity to the West Valley Fault.
Right.
Am I right? The type of the building, the age, and the history.
Yes.
I myself am very interested here because I live in a building that's quite close
Same here,
to the
yeah.
West Valley Fault.
Okay.
So, Yusek, what criteria will be used in terms of prioritizing which buildings will be audited first, and how will the local government units be involved in that process?
So what's going to happen is that will be the first assessment. So those top 5, they will prioritize the building based on the top 5.
Okay.
After that, the LGUs will come into a 4-phase assessment. And they will collate the data, input it into the system. They will do ocular inspections. They will do building inspections, a thorough building inspection. And then they will get engineers involved for an actual structural evaluation and investigation to see what buildings can withstand large magnitude earthquakes and what buildings will probably have to go through other processes.
And I heard there are plans to also tap engineering students.
Yes, the DILG is already collaborating with academic institutions. We will make use of the talents of fourth year and fifth year engineering college students to help us out in this process.
And when do you plan to roll out this?
Rollout is scheduled for June. The pilot areas will be NCR, Region 3, which means Bulacan all the way up to Bataan, and then Calabarzon area. Those will be the pilot areas.
And how long will the assessment be?
I don't know how long exactly the period will take in terms of assessment. We want to do this very carefully to make sure that we're not missing out on anything. For so long as we gather the information. But what's important here is that we have these standards. We will set these as the national standards for all buildings nationwide once we're done with these pilot tests.
I mean, this is very important, Yusek, right? Because when we talk about earthquakes, it's always a reactive response.
Yes.
We only act pag nandun na yung disaster, di ba? Pag may namatay na, may nasalanta na.
Yes.
So could this be considered as one of the more proactive measures that our government has in mitigating disasters?
The DILG has always been very active in disaster preparedness. We have a lot of programs out there. As a matter of fact, there's a program under the DILG called Operation Listo. We've issued 8 manuals to prepare DLGUs and teach them and capacitate them on how to handle typhoons, tsunamis, earthquakes, floods. Precisely because we don't want to be just reactionary. We have to be prepared. We don't want to be caught flat-footed. So, but definitely, we want to be prepared for the big one, if ever that happens and when that happens.
Okay, well, moving on to another topic. I mean, there's only less than a month left before the midterm elections.
Yeah.
How prepared is the DILG for May 12, first of all, Yusek?
Well, the peace and order situation, that's going to be handled by the PNP. And the PNP is very prepared. My latest report that I got from them, they have conducted over 660,000 checkpoints nationwide. And in the process, they've made arrests of over 2,400 individuals who have violated the gun ban. On the DILG's part, we have reminded the Secretary Remulla issued a memorandum circular a couple of months ago, instructing all governors, city mayors, and municipal mayors to form their local governance transition teams. And these LGTTs are expected to do a proper turnover just in case the incumbents are not successful in retaining their seats in the coming elections. We want to make sure that there is a smooth transition of assets, of documents, of papers, facilities, a proper turnover to the incoming administration after the elections.
And during elections, Yusek, it's really a high-risk period, not just for candidates, for voters, but also journalists, people who work in the media.
Yes.
And the DILG has proposed this Media Security Vanguards initiative. Tell us about that.
So actually what happened was, so there's an office called the Presidential Task Force on Media Security. This was created in 2016. Last November, the President reminded this office to up their efforts, to increase efforts to make sure that the journalists and the media practitioners are protected, especially with the upcoming elections. So 2 things happened after that President issued that directive to the Presidential Task Force. 2 things happened. Number 1, a memorandum of agreement was signed between the Presidential Task Force on Media Security and the COMELEC to ensure the rights of the of media and the journalists, and to make sure that they are free from harassment and harm. And then the reactivation of the media security vanguards, which is essentially the media vanguards are essentially the frontliners for our media practitioners.
Right.
The media vanguards are basically composed of the PNP public information officers, the PNP PIOs. They are the frontliners. They are the ones that will help media and guide media on how to handle harassment and other such things.
But have there been reported incidents already, Yusek, of media workers being harassed already during this particular campaign period, election period?
Not that I know of. As a matter of fact, in the last event that I attended with Secretary J. Ruiz, we were actually heralding the fact that 2024 was the first year in 20 years that there were no media killings. That hasn't happened in 20 years. So Presidential Task Force was very happy. Media vanguards will make sure that we keep that slate clean.
And has there been any collaborations as well with media organizations? I mean, they play an important part as well here.
Yes, we're asking the media organizations. We can't do this alone.
Right.
So we need the efforts of DILG, PNP, media organizations, even COMELEC to get on board to make sure that our journalists are safe and away from harm.
What about training initiatives, Yusek? Awareness campaigns for media
Yes.
workers?
Yeah, so again, the Presidential Task Force will be rolling that out in the coming months. They will be having workshops and seminars to inform the journalists. You know, it's not just the journalists, they're the cameramen, the crew,
Right.
all of these people that go behind actual reporting. So they need to be made aware what their rights are, what they need to do to protect themselves. That's the kind of thing that the Presidential Task Force will take care of. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's very good to hear that. I mean, as a member also of the
Sure.
media, to know that we're protected, right? Especially during this high-risk period
Yeah.
of the elections.
Sure.
But under USEC, we still have more topics to discuss. Now, going back to our discussion with Interior Undersecretary Donnie Puno, we were talking about the elections earlier on
Yeah.
how to ensure the safety of journalists. But during this high-risk period, USEC, diba, even candidates, voters are at risk.
Yeah.
And election violence really increases during this period.
Yeah.
Tell us about the efforts of the DILG and the PNP in ensuring that peace and order is maintained.
PNP has been very good about ensuring that. No? And Secretary Remulla has also warned all the police to make sure that none of them are involved in partisan politics. He personally said that he will file charges against police who favor any candidate at the local level. And I'll give it to PNP Chief Marbil. He's been very, very active also in ensuring that no violence. And I think that the numbers have been under control. I don't have the exact figures with me now, but things have been under control. There are several hot spots, mostly in the Barm area, as expected, but again, PNP is making sure that things are under control. So I don't think we have anything to worry about regarding that. Yeah.
Okay, so another topic I wanted to ask you, Yusek, also was the recent death and the unfortunate death of Filipino-Chinese businessman Anson Ke, as well as his driver.
Right.
This is the second kidnapping incident of a Chinese individual.
Right.
What's the latest on the investigation there, Yusek?
So, Pauline, I can't really go into the details of the investigation. It is ongoing. There is a special investigation task group that is handling it for the PNP. Part of that task group is General Okubo and General Torre of CIDG. So we'll let them proceed with that investigation. I know there's a lot of speculation out there, different angles, but we won't delve into that. We won't talk about speculations. But let me say that DOJ Secretary Boying Remulla has formed the interagency task force to handle these types of kidnappings. This will be composed of DOJ, NBI, and the Bureau of Immigration. The DILG is part of that together with the PNP. And Chief Marbil himself has met with the Filipino-Chinese community, assuring them of the assistance that PNP can give regarding this. He has, and I'll quote him, he said he is leveraging he is mobilizing all capabilities of the PNP and leveraging every possible asset to make sure that similar kidnappings don't happen again. One of the first things that they've already done, they've already created, one of the things the PNP has done, they've created a help desk specifically and exclusively for the Filipino-Chinese community.
Help desk.
A help desk where they can report threats, possible kidnapping reports, other information that they can share with the PNP. So they've been proactive in making sure that that this doesn't happen again.
It's good that there's a help desk, Yusek, right? But you also have people criticizing, I guess, how this was handled, how officials responded, law enforcement responded, because it took 2 weeks when Mr. Anson Ke was kidnapped and then when his body was found.
Yeah.
What efforts are being done to make sure that we can respond better, we can catch these masterminds, these perpetrators?
Again, Pauline, I won't go into the details, but I will say this, no? And this has happened in the past. One of the reasons why there's such a delay in reaction from the law enforcement is because the victims or their families refuse to report it. They do not immediately coordinate with the police regarding these matters. A lot of times they coordinate when maybe it might be a little too late.
Okay.
No? So I think that's one of the first things that they need to do. They need to get the police involved right away, and maybe things will be able to react a little faster. And I'm sure there's criticism out there, but like I said, let's wait for the report to come out. Chief Marbil has promised that they're going through a thorough investigation now, and they will make the report known soon.
And that's why the help desk is there,
Yes.
to immediately report any unfortunate incidents. But one of the angles being looked at, Yusek, is the links to Pogos. Is that something you can expound on?
Well, we've heard about it. No, we've heard about it. Again, it's an angle that they're investigating. I can't say at this point whether it's true or not, but there still is a cleanup of Pogos that we need to undergo. As you can see, it's been in the reports, it's been in the news the past couple of weeks. Raids here and there, Pogo related. People are, some of these, the Chinese Pogos are still here. So the cleanup continues. Now, whether this had anything to do with the Anson killing, we don't know at this point.
And do we know if it's also related to that of the Chinese student who was kidnapped in Taguig? Or
No,
still being investigated?
that's still being investigated as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Undersecretary Donnie Puno,
Thank you
for
very much,
joining us
Pauline.
this Tuesday and tackling all those topics with us.
Thank you very much.
We hope you have a great Holy Week, and thank you
Oh,
for
you too.
joining us here on Morning Matters. That was Interior Undersecretary Donnie Puno.